Welcome back to Textiles and Treasures and Happy New Year. At this time of year, I love to look back on the year that we just completed, think about everything I learned, and how to apply it to the year ahead. The same thing goes for thrifting. I've been reflecting on my favorite finds from 2019, as well as what I learned over the past year going to thrift stores, estate sales, yard sales, rummage sales, the flea market, and the swap shed. In today's video, I want to share 20 of my favorite finds from the past year. This was the year that I got back into thrifting with a vengeance, and I managed to pick up some really awesome items. When I'm out thrifting, I look for vintage glassware and anything to do with fiber art, textiles, and needlework. I also collect retro board games, but I'll save those for another video. I'll start off by sharing some of my favorite pieces of vintage glassware, and then move on to items related to fiber arts. Let's get started. It's hard to know where to begin, so we might as well start with Pyrex. I found this Pyrex Space Saver casserole at an estate sale. I was super surprised to come across this Space Saver casserole at the estate sale because I showed up at the end of the first day and Pyrex usually sells pretty quickly. I was even more surprised that I didn't recognize this pattern, and that's because it's a somewhat rare promotional pattern from the 1950s. This is the black embroidery pattern, and as an embroidery artist, I of course couldn't resist it. I think this design is really interesting and pretty, and it's a nice size and shape. This piece was originally marked to $6, but they had already marked items down 25%, so I paid $4.50 for it. When I got home and researched this pattern, I realized that it would have come with a lid as well as a cradle, but I didn't see either of those items with it at the estate sale. So I decided to head back the next day to see if I could find the lid and to pick up another item that's one of my favorites. I was super excited to discover this Space Saver lid inside a box lot. This particular estate sale company tends to put some of their kitchen items into boxes to sell them as a group, things that they don't think will sell individually. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that this lid went to that casserole, and so it ended up in a box lot. Lucky for me, no one purchased it, and I was able to spot it at the top of the box. Since I already purchased the Pyrex, they allowed me to take it along with me for free. I was so excited because this definitely increases the value of the Pyrex, and these lids are somewhat hard to find. If that casserole did still have its cradle, I wasn't able to find it, but I did find something else I was really excited about. On the first day of the estate sale, I found this pitcher. I was still learning about depression glass, and I had actually forgotten my flashlight, so I wasn't able to test this handle to see if it glows. I took a picture and researched it and realized that this is a watermelon pitcher. These pitchers are called watermelon because of the pink and green. You will also find the handle that is pink and the base that is green. As it turns out, these pitchers are pretty desirable, especially with this optic style and in such excellent condition. They sell for pretty good money, and I knew that this was my opportunity to get one at a reasonable price. Like I said, I headed back to the estate sale first thing in the morning the next day, and I was able to get the lid as well as this pitcher. So excited. This pitcher was originally marked $8, and because it was 25% off, I paid $6 for it. That is an awesome deal. This is one of my absolute favorite pieces in my depression glass collection because it really brings together the pink and the green. As you can see here, the handle definitely glows under the black light. This was an awesome month for estate sales, and this is another one of my favorite finds from the year. As you can see here, this is a Cobalt Blue candy dish. I found this at an estate sale that had a ton of vintage glassware and especially a lot of cobalt pieces. As you can see, this piece of glass is covered with bees. This pattern was made by the Indiana Glass Company in a lot of different colors, but as a lover of the color blue, this was perfect for me. You can see the beehive on the base of the dish, and the design goes all the way around this candy dish. You can also see the pattern on the base of the dish. At the time I found this, I didn't know that these were pretty collectible, but I just knew I really liked the color and I liked the pattern. So I was happy to pick this up for $5. As I mentioned, that estate sale was loaded with glass. It was really hard not to buy absolutely everything, and it was super well attended, so you had to be quick. I saw this owl paperweight on a shelf, and I had to have him. As you can see, this is an adorable glass owl. I really like this simple design. I love owls, and I've started collecting them this past year, and I just love having such a simple but elegant piece. On the back, you can see the sticker that says that this was made by Viking. I paid $4 for this owl, and I absolutely love him. definitely one of my favorite pieces from earlier this year. I really love the design of this owl, and I'm happy to look at him every day on my bookshelf. Some of my best finds of the year were from the flea market. I kind of had a late start at the flea market because it was really rainy in the spring, and then I was going a little later in the day. It was only at the very end of the season that I started going first thing in the morning and checking out the box lots and really finding some cool items. One of my favorite pieces from the flea market is this opalescent blue bowl. I bought this bowl from one of the vendors who seemed to sell things in box lots. I just absolutely fell in love with the color. I love this beautiful blue color, and I just loved this piece. Most people seem to assume that anything in this type of pattern is Fenton, but this was actually made by Northwood. I've been lucky enough to find a lot of really cool depression glass and Fenton pieces, but this one remains at the top of my list. I just love the size and shape. I love the pattern with the flowers. I love the opalescent style, and it's just a piece in great shape. I paid about $5 for this, and it was absolutely worth it. I still absolutely love this piece. By the end of the season, the box lots were my absolute favorite place to hunt for treasures. I started showing up as early as I possibly could, just after 7 a.m., and one day I got really lucky with what I found. I started looking inside a box, and I pulled out one by one an entire set of Mary Mushroom. I could not believe my eyes. There was the entire set of canisters, a set of mugs, the sugar and creamer, the salt and pepper, even the clock. I had found bits and pieces of a Mary Mushroom set earlier that summer at an estate sale, and I decided to get the kitchen utensils piece that you see in this picture. I paid 50 cents for it at the estate sale. The other pieces were a little too damaged, and so I just got one piece so that I would have some Mary Mushroom in my collection. When I found this entire set of Mary Mushroom, I knew I had to have it. I know that the set is pretty collectible, and because I have a Forest Fancies Pyrex set, I was kind of interested in this pattern. I knew that this was my opportunity to get the whole set, and I could not leave it behind. So I pulled out all the pieces and asked the vendor how much. You can just imagine my jaw dropping when he told me $5. That's right, I paid $5 for the entire set of Mary Mushroom. The only piece I bought separately was the kitchen utensils piece. I never expected to find the whole set in such beautiful condition for such an awesome price. I managed to grow a sizable green depression glass collection, mostly finding pieces at the flea market. I found this lid at one of my favorite vendors. He has a $1 table and he puts out some really quality items. This lid was by itself, but I know from collecting Pyrex that you always buy the lid. They are hard to find in pristine condition. So I paid $1 for this lid and checked back with him a few times to see if he had the base, but didn't find it. When I was shopping at Savers with my mom, she spotted this base of a cookie jar. It looked to me like I might have the lid for it. I wasn't 100% sure, but I was definitely going to get it because it was $2.99. It was in excellent condition, and of course, I'm going to collect a cookie jar. These are pretty fun to find. Lo and behold, imagine my surprise when I realized that that is the lid for this cookie jar. This pattern is the Cameo ballerina pattern, and this is in excellent condition. I'm so glad I was able to reunite the base with the lid. As you can see, the lid glows under blacklight, as does the base. More beautiful green depression glass to add to my collection. I really have a soft spot for etched glass from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and this Pyrex oval serving dish is no exception. I found this etched Pyrex dish at a Salvation Army, and I think I paid $2 for it. This is one of the much older pieces of Pyrex with the etched patterns on it. I have a couple of other pieces, and I'm definitely collecting it if I'm able to find it. This is in really good condition considering it was a well-used and well-loved piece, and this is definitely one of my favorite finds of the year. I've actually never been back to that Salvation Army. It's about an hour away, and I would love to go look to see what else they have. I love floral etched glass. One of my biggest obsessions of the year was collecting this Libby Rock Sharp stemware. I started collecting this etched stemware because I found a piece half off at Goodwill and I was really curious about it. When I did some research, I realized that this was made in the 40s, and there's a whole set of stemware that you can collect. This is a water goblet with a really cool pattern, and this is a low sherbet glass. Once again, you can see a similar pattern. I picked these up at the flea market, at Goodwill, at Savers, even at yard sales. I was excited to finally find some wine glasses at a fill-a-bag yard sale. I collect the Rock Sharp stemware with this pattern at the base as well as this stem. However, when I found this pattern at the thrift store, I had to have it. As you can see, this still has the sticker that says Rock Sharp. This makes me think that these were actually stored in somebody's china cabinet and perhaps never used. So I have a nice set of these glasses as well. These are a perfect size and shape. I love them. I've managed to collect a pretty sizable collection of the stemware, but I just wanted to show you a few pieces so you can see how cool they are. I love those etched florals. Something else I've started to pick up this past year is mid-century modern glassware. I tend to pick up small bowls and platters because these are things I can see myself using in the future. One of my favorite finds this year was a set of these bowls. I love this bowl because it's in excellent condition. I love the pattern. I love the teal and the gray. Those are two of my favorite colors, and I love that the rim is edged in silver. I found a set of 4 of these bowls, as well as these handled bowls. I'm not exactly sure what the name of these bowls is. I haven't yet identified this pattern, but I absolutely love the pieces that I managed to find. I got a whole box filled with stuff for $2 at the end of the estate sale. These were definitely an awesome find. Here's another mid-century modern piece that I was super excited to find. Like I mentioned, I love teal, I love blue, I love gray, so this is right up my alley. As you can see, this is a beautiful pattern. On the bottom, it is marked Franciscan Del Mar. If you can believe it, I found this in the bins, and that's because somebody had used this dish as a planter. It had tons of calcification in the center, but with some scrubbing, some vinegar, some diligence, and a lot of patience, I was able to remove all of that. It's actually really shocking that these dishes were able to hold up to such abuse and still clean up so nicely. This is definitely one of my favorite finds, even if I did have to work for it. I love rescuing things from the bins. Speaking of bins rescues, I found this creamer and sugar bowl in the bins. This creamer and sugar was also covered in grime. Someone donated it straight from their kitchen to Goodwill, and they didn't bother to clean it beforehand. I always check the glassware and I check the maker's mark, and I saw this was made by Rae Dunn. I don't collect Rae Dunn, but I know that some of the pieces can be pretty valuable, and it's totally affordable at the bins. It's 20 cents a pound. These items aren't very heavy, so I often buy them and think if I'm not going to keep them, I can just donate them to the swap shed. Imagine my surprise when I looked these up on eBay and saw the sold prices. As it turns out, this is part of the Crown collection, and it is Have a Royal Day, and these are highly collectible. If you know anything about Rae Dunn, you can let me know why they're so collectible. But each of these sold for about $350 recently. Like I mentioned, I'm not a Rae Dunn collector, and so I don't really understand what makes these so special. So when I finally get set up on eBay, I'm going to try selling these and see how well I can do there. I have to thank the person who donated this for not cleaning it off, or else it probably would have ended up in the retail store and I would have missed picking it up. Speaking of collectible sets, I found this vintage pottery set of snack bowls. As you can see, the bottom bowl says pretzels, the medium bowl says chips, and the smaller bowl says corn. On the base of the bowl, it says Ovenware Watt USA. So these are Watt pottery. I don't know that much about the older pottery makers, but I did know this was vintage, and I do know that snack sets are fairly desirable. So when I saw these for $1 for this bowl and $2 each for the bigger bowls, I decided I was definitely going to invest $5 in them. When I did some research online, I found out that this was actually a set of 4, and there would have been a smaller nuts bowl. I checked back and was not able to find it at Goodwill, so it must have been lost much earlier in its existence. However, I did notice that these bowls are fairly rare, and they are collectible to the right people. I'm not sure exactly how much they go for, but if I ever decide to sell them, I think I'll be able to recoup my investment. These are in really good shape with just some crazing, and they're definitely one of my favorite finds because they're so unique. Speaking of collectible glassware, I found this set of 6 beaded edge Westmoreland plates at a church yard sale. This set of 6 was marked $12. I had already found my fall Americana Pyrex set at that yard sale, but I absolutely fell in love with the beautiful painted design on these plates. Look at how pretty they are. They're in such great condition. As I mentioned, these plates are by Westmoreland, and this is the beaded edge blank. After I'd picked these up, a woman approached me and she said, "Those plates belong to my grandmother." She didn't say why she decided to donate them to her church, but I said that I would absolutely treasure them, that I absolutely love them, and she was so happy. I love stories like that when people are happy that these are going to find another home and that somebody's going to appreciate them. In one of my glassware books, I found the rest of the patterns, and I think this would have been a set of 8, perhaps 10. So I'm going to have to keep a lookout for others. I still haven't found these anywhere else, so I'm just excited that I picked them up when I saw them, even if they were a little bit of a spend for plates. I'm definitely going to find a way to display these in the spring. Speaking of milk glass, I was super excited to spot this Primrose AP Snack Set by Anchor Hawking on the shelves at Savers. The strange thing is I had been browsing at Savers for quite a while, and they put this out while I was there. When I saw this on the shelf, I was so excited. I have been looking for anything in the Primrose pattern, and to find a snack set, amazing. One of my current vintage obsessions is snack sets, especially the milk glass ones, and this is the first one I was able to add to my collection. As you can see, the graphics are still in really good condition. These were well taken care of. Of course, it helps that they have the box. I love the bubble pattern on the bottom as well. All 4 of the cups are in excellent condition. I was so excited to find these. The set was marked $9.99 at Savers, and I had a 20% off coupon, so I paid $8 for them. This is definitely one of my absolute favorite finds of the year. Now let's talk about some of my favorite textiles and fiber art finds of the year. To be honest, it's nearly impossible to narrow these down because I found so many really cool embroidery and cross-stitch kits and patterns. So I decided to leave those out and talk about those in other videos. If you watched some of my earlier videos, you may have seen this absolutely amazing embroidered Afghan that I found in an estate sale. I never thought I would come across one of these, and so when I found this hiding underneath another less beautiful Afghan, I was so excited. I was willing to pay whatever they asked for this Afghan, but luckily I only ended up paying $15 for it. This is absolutely beautiful. It's extremely well done. The colors are really interesting. It's definitely got a vibrant primary colors feel, and you can even kind of identify some of the flowers that are here. I love this Afghan, and I'm so glad that I was able to find it. Over the summer, I went to an estate sale on my birthday that I knew was going to be amazing. It was clear from the photos that the woman collected depression glass and created amazing handmade items. I still have to share all of my amazing finds from that estate sale, and I'll be sure to do that in another video. However, I want to show you the item that I made sure I grabbed as soon as I got there. I spotted this beautiful rainbow Afghan in the pictures, and I had to decide if I was going to make a beeline for this Afghan or some other item. I decided that this was worth it, so I figured out exactly where it was and headed directly there as soon as I got in the door. Lucky for me, this Afghan was only marked $10. I was so excited to get this, and I was even more excited with everything else that I was able to pick up at that estate sale. However, I definitely prize this beautiful rainbow blanket, and I appreciate the person who put all the effort into stitching this beautiful piece. Something I really wanted to find was a needlepoint purse, so I was so excited when I spotted this at an estate sale. This estate sale was right down the street from where I live, so it was super fun to be able to go shopping so locally. When I spotted this and saw it was in excellent condition, I knew I had to have it, even though it was marked, as you can still see here, $10. However, I got a good deal on everything else I got at that estate sale, so it kind of all balances out. That's the thing I like about estate sales. The more you buy, the better the prices get. They said that the original owner may even have stitched this herself because she was definitely a crafty person. I found quite a few framed pieces of crewel and needlepoint, but this is one of my favorites. I found this framed bird picture at the flea market and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I paid $2 for it. Although it's really hard to see because of the reflective glass, this has some really beautiful coloring. It's got some nice teal or aqua color, and the birds are purple, which makes it a more unique needlepoint piece than some of the ones that I have. Of course, I definitely love some of the larger scale crewel and needlepoint pieces that I've shown you in other videos, but this one was easier to take off the wall. I'm going to cheat a little and show these two pieces at the same time because I found these both together at the same vendor at the flea market. I really enjoy needlepoint, but I do prefer more subtle coloring in the pieces. This one I think is beautiful. I really love the landscapes that people have done over the years, and I just love that this has a little bit of a fall vibe. I love the running water. I love the mountains. I love the sky. Everything about this I love. I even love the frame that they put it in because I love gray. So this was definitely something I wanted to take with me. I also found this cross stitch. I don't usually like cross stitch that have writing on them, but I love the sunset colors in this piece, and that just made it really unique to me. I love cross stitch, but this is definitely more my style. I love anything to do with landscapes and travel. I paid $5 for these two pieces, as well as a little piece of glassware that I got at the same time. Totally worth it. One of the estate sales I went to earlier this year ended up being a total surprise. I had spoken to the person running the sale at a different estate sale, and he told me that he didn't see any kind of embroidery items there. The person was definitely an artist and had lots of creative items, but he didn't see any embroidery. However, when I got there, I was pleasantly surprised that there was tons and tons of fiber arts, materials, books, and otherwise. This was one of those treasure hunt estate sales. They do not lay things out and you have to dig. While I was in the basement, I was super excited to come across this little loom that says "Weave It" on it. When you see the words "Weave It," you know that you probably have a loom. And at the time, I did not know much about these pin looms. That's what they're known as, pin looms. But as somebody who loves weaving and fiber arts, I definitely was taking this little loom with me in order to learn more. At the same time, I also found this blue loom. This weaving was not on the loom. This is the first one I tried it with, and I haven't taken it off yet. It also did not come with the needle. That's part of my personal collection. So when I saw this little plastic piece, I wasn't sure what it was. It was just by itself. But looking at it and seeing this little heddle here, I knew that this was probably a loom. So I took this as well. As it turns out, this is a Wonder Weave loom, and these were popular, I think, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but definitely the 60s. This is a really fun to weave with. And it turns out that pin looms are pretty popular among a certain population of fiber artists. And so finding these was awesome. Definitely inspired me to look even more into pin looms. I'll definitely be sharing more about my vintage looms in a future video, but for now I have to celebrate this absolutely amazing find. I paid a group price for everything at this estate sale, and I think these probably cost me a couple of dollars at the most. I went to a yard sale that was really more of an estate sale where I got this kit of punch needle materials. Rather than take things out, I decided to just purchase the whole thing. If you saw my video on thrifting unfinished projects, I talked about this kit. I've been wanting to learn punch needle, and I actually thrifted an adjustable punch needle for yarn at Goodwill for $1 earlier this year, as well as this punch needle at Savers for, I believe, $2. However, it's easier to get started with embroidery punch needle, and I was able to find this punch needle as well as a ton of patterns in that set. I completed these unfinished projects this holiday season. This is a gingerbread. This is a snowman, and this is a candy cane. I absolutely love punch embroidery, so that's why this whole set is one of my favorite finds of the year. I'm excited to experiment with the other kits that are inside that box. I paid for everything I got at that yard sale together, so I'm not sure exactly what I paid for this, but it was probably around $5. As a bonus, I want to share another one of the cool items I found at a yard sale earlier this year. As you can see, it was marked $5, which seemed like a bit of a spend, but I now know was totally worth it. This is a Mountain Melodies thumb piano. As you can see, this is a thumb piano, or what is more commonly known as a kalimba. I'm not sure how to say that correctly. And this is a little piano that you play with your thumbs. I used to love playing the flute and I love music, and I decided that this was something I was willing to try. As it turns out, this one you can plug an amp into, and I think they retail for $60, so $5 was an excellent deal. I have so much fun with this. It came with a little book of music, especially a lot of Christmas songs, and this was one of my absolute favorite finds of the year. So much fun, so unusual, and such a great way to just relax at the end of the day. As you can see, it is really hard to choose my favorites from all of the cool finds I picked up this year while thrifting, at yard sales, estate sales, rummage sales, the flea market, and the swap shed. I'm definitely going to be sharing more of my vintage collections in the coming year. Now that I've shared all of my favorite finds from 2019, I would love to hear from you. What were some of the best things that you picked up over the past year? Where did you find them, and did you get a good deal? Thanks again for stopping by my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss any of my future videos in 2020. Happy New Year! Have a good one. Goodbye.